Hello and welcome to Baking on a Budget. Now, in this episode, we have another delicious budget meal. This time, it's how to cook chicken chasseur. This is a chicken chasseur recipe. We have everything that we're going to need over here. I'm going to run through exactly what I've got and how much all of this costs. There's one difference to this chicken chasseur recipe. I'm not going to put any mushrooms in it. I'm not a particular lover of the mushroom, but to make an authentic chicken chasseur, the only addition to this would be a handful of mushrooms. Okay, so first of all, we have 300 grams of chicken breast, and this cost me £2.24. Again, bought in a larger pack, slightly cheaper than just buying the small portions of it. We have one onion at 9p. We have one clove of garlic at 4p. We have a tin of tomatoes at 47p. We have a quarter of a tube of tomato puree at 18p. We have one chicken stock cube at 12p. We have 3 tablespoons of white wine, and that is coming out at 43p. We have 1 teaspoon of black pepper at 4p. We have half a teaspoon of thyme at about 2p. And we have half a teaspoon of rosemary at 2p. So the whole cost of that recipe is £3.65, and I'm saying we're going to get 3 servings out of that. I will get 3 servings out of that for sure. Making that £1.21 per serving. Now, to go with it, we're going to have some beautiful crispy roast potatoes. So I'm using 200 grams of potato, which is about 18p. We have 1 carrot at 5p. We have 60 grams of green beans at about 8p, frozen green beans, these are I'm using. And we have about 4 tablespoons of vegetable oil just to do the roast potatoes in, which is 8p. So the total cost of the veg is 36p. So this whole meal, this is chicken chasseur with roast potatoes, carrots and green beans, comes to £1.57. And as I say, the only difference between this recipe and your traditional chicken chasseur recipe is that there are no mushrooms in here. But as I say, very simple. If you want the full thing, handful of mushrooms in there as well. And this comes together really quickly. So let's get to it. First thing I'm going to do is just prep this chicken up. I'm going to cut it into small pieces like this, about 1 inch square, and I'm just going to pop it in this flour because we do want to coat it before we start to seal it. Again, you could use chicken leg for this if you wished. That would work equally well. Chicken thighs, but I've gone for this chicken breast because I had quite a lot of this frozen from buying a large quantity of it a little while ago. And then we want to coat that in this flour. Okay, so we're at the hob. We just want this over a low to medium heat. And there's a drizzle of oil in the bottom of there. And we just want to get that chicken in there like that. Now I'm just going to let that sizzle away for a little while. Keep an eye on it. And whilst that's happening, we will prepare the rest of the veg for this. Poured a wash there. Just take the majority of the water off it. Same with the knife. And first thing we want to do is chop up our onion. This is going to just be chopped fairly coarsely, actually. I think that'll be okay in there. We have a decent sized clove of garlic this time. Has been very small, the garlic, over late, but these are getting a bit better. And I'll just chop this fairly finely. Okay, that chicken's had a few minutes in there and is just starting to brown, just going a little golden brown on the outside. So that's good enough for me. I'm going to take that out and put it back on the plate over here for a while. To the pan, I'm going to add the onions and the garlic. Now we just want to let this fry for a little while and soften those onions up. Okay, the onions have softened up at this point, looking good. And what we're going to do is just turn that heat down. And the next thing we want to add is our white wine. Now, as I say, I'm just putting 3 tablespoons of white wine in there. That will be sufficient. And I just want to let that mix in and burn off for a little while. Could use brandy in this if you have cooking brandy in the kitchen. A little bit of brandy in there would be very nice. That's looking good. All right, next thing is our tomatoes. This is 1 tin of chopped tomatoes. Just get all that in there. And to that, We have, I don't know how much is that. That's about a tablespoon of tomato puree. I said a quarter of a tube. It's about a quarter of a tube. And we want to mix that in, and the next thing which goes in there is our chicken stock. Now I've mixed this stock cube up with about 250 ml of water, and I'll just keep adding that until I think we've got it about right. That doesn't look too bad there. I'll just put a little bit more in. I think that's going to do it. Okay, now I just want to work some of the flour with the juice from the chicken. Has stuck a little bit to the bottom of the pan, but we'll just work that off with the wooden spoon. This isn't a Teflon coated pan or anything like that. It's just stainless steel, so it will be fine. Okay, looking good. Now, next thing is we have some thyme, and we just want about half a teaspoon of that. Not a lot. A little bit more, a little touch more maybe, just a pinch, you know. And that's the same with the rosemary. That's about half a teaspoon there. Now to that I'm also going to add a decent crack of black pepper. I think the recipe called for a teaspoon of black pepper. And now we're going to mix all this beautiful sauce together. That is absolutely marvellous. As I say, this recipe comes together so quickly, and it makes a delicious meal as well. And for £1.57 for a serving of this with the veg is extremely reasonable. Right, all looking good. Now our chicken can go back in at this point. And there it is. Spot on. Now what I'm going to do is just let that bubble away on the hob for a short while, and then I'm going to put it in the oven. Whilst all that's happening, I'm going to prepare the rest of the veg for this. And the first thing we want to do is just peel and chop these potatoes. As I say, I'm going to have this with roast potatoes, nice and crisp on the outside. And I'll obviously parboil them before they go in, nice and fluffy in the middle. And I'm going to chop them fairly coarse, decent roasty, you know. Yeah, I might have overdone it a bit here, but you never have too many roast potatoes really. Right, they want to go into a pan, and I'll cover those with water. And the carrot, again, I just want to peel, and I'll chop this into battens, or is it a julienne, I believe, sort of shape for these, which is simply just cut like so, and then we want to half it, and I'll just cut them. That will do fine. Now for the carrots, I've put just a teaspoon of butter in the pan. Get the carrots in, and we have here some basil, and it really is just a pinch, and also some oregano. It's practically impossible to cost this actually. How much would that be? Right, they're ready to go. Okay, potatoes have boiled nicely, just a little bit fluffy around the edges. They're going to be fantastic when roasted, and they're going into the oven now. As I say, the chicken chasseur itself, I'm going to leave it in the oven for about an hour at about 160 degrees centigrade, and these can go in at the same time as that. Look at this. This is just out of the oven. That smells absolutely marvellous, and I'm going to serve some of this up and taste it. Okay folks, 1 hour later, out of the oven. Look at that plate of food. That is going to be absolutely fantastic. Chicken chasseur without the mushrooms, roast potatoes, just done golden brown, nice and crisp on the outside. We've got some glazed carrots, and we've got green beans. This whole meal cost me £1.57, and I'm going to enjoy it. Now let's have a look at that chicken first. Beautiful chicken, steaming hot out of the oven. Smells absolutely delightful, and marvellous. Absolutely marvellous. Carrots nice and tender. Great with the green beans. Those roast potatoes are done to a turn. Beautiful and fluffy inside. Just getting crisp on the outside, just the way I like them. That is a truly marvellous feed for £1.57. And as I say, from that pot of chicken chasseur, I'll easily get 3 goes out of that. Obviously depends on what sort of portion size you like. But this plate here will do me fine, with the potatoes and everything as well. Beautiful meal, you know. So there it is. That is how to cook chicken chasseur. As I say, no mushrooms in this one. If you'd put mushrooms in, that would be authentic sort of chicken chasseur. Now, can I say, if you've enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to see more delicious meals like this, very cheap, very simple to make, loads more to come, so please do consider subscribing to the channel. And in the meantime, I'm going to finish off the rest of this plate of beautiful food for £1.57. And I thank you very much for watching.